There's a new card coming on Friday, June the 5th, and the dev team wants your feedback on it before it officially goes live. Hey guys, Legendaray here, and today I present to you the Skeleton Dragons, a new 4 elixir cost common card that can be unlocked in Hog Mountain. First things first, I'll break down the card and go over some of the possible stats as well as synergies that come along with the Skeleton Dragons. Next, I'll highlight a few matches between me, KFC Clash, and Full Frontage. So of course, I'll go ahead and link their channels down below. And hey, while you're down there, be sure to subscribe to my channel and leave a like on the video to see more videos like this one. Also, go check me out on my social medias, links down below. And if you'd like to support me in-game, feel free to use code Legendaray in the shop. And with all that out of the way, let's get right into the card. So, these Skeleton Dragons are 2 baby dragons that have come back to life, and just like the baby dragons, they are flying units that will deal splash damage. However, they are individually much weaker on their own. To be more specific, each of those little Skeleton Dragons has 440 hit points and deals about 83.5 damage per second at tournament standard. Of course, these stats are subject to change, but again, comparing it to the baby dragon, each individual dragon will do slightly less damage, but honestly, not by very much at all. In fact, if you combine those 2 skeleton dragons together, they'll do about just as much damage as an equally leveled musketeer, except it's a splashing troop. That being said, again, they do only have 440 hit points, meaning that they are quite fragile and can be taken out rather easily. So let's go ahead and go over a couple of synergies that I think will be quite prevalent with the release of the Skeleton Dragon. The first is pretty obvious. I mean, the Skeleton Dragons have 440 hit points, which is exactly the same amount of HP that the Magic Archer and the Flying Machine both have. So it's pretty obvious that this card is going to find a role in Fireball bait decks, especially combined with those Royal Hogs. In addition to being able to bait out fireballs from the opponent, this card is also a split lane card, because with the 2 dragons, you can place them in the center and they will split their opposite ways. This card screams for a spot in those Royal Hogs decks, many of which really rely on those split lane pressures to really get to their opponent's towers. Anyways, moving away from those Royal Hog decks, I think these skeletons will also find a spot in air decks, more specifically Lava Hound. Many of these Lava Hound decks do run those barbarians in there, and I think that also will provide a bit of spell bait synergy with those skeleton dragons, because a lot of players will want to use those spells on the barbarians, and then those skeleton dragons will have free reign. Vice versa, if your opponents use their spells on the skeleton dragons, then those barbarians are free to go. Now, to move even more generally, I think this card was also introduced to provide a bit of a substitute for the super popular baby dragon, which has consistently been one of the most used cards in the entire game. In addition to that, there really isn't a splash card that also has the ability to split lanes, so I think this definitely is a niche that has now been filled. However, the release of the Skeleton Dragon, I don't think it's timed very well personally, especially with the prevalence of the Royal Hog decks as well as the Lava Hound decks that are just everywhere in this current meta. That being said, I don't know what the balances for Season 12 are, so hopefully we will see a slight tone down to Fireball Bait, because adding this super useful Skeleton Dragons card is going to make Fireball Bait, in my opinion, just a little bit better. Anyways, before you guys let me know your first impressions of the card, I've went ahead and played a couple matches against KFC as well as Full Frontage, and I'll highlight 2 matches that I think really shows the power as well as a few weaknesses to those Skeleton Dragons. Again, huge thanks to them for the help, and without further ado, let's hop into the matches. Alright, so this first match here against KFC, and I'm actually going to be running a motorcycle variant with those Skeleton Dragons. Now, I do want to quickly note that these matches aren't live. Fortunately, I did record the live gameplay, but I just didn't commentate over them. So anyways, back to this match. Of course, again, I'm running the Skeleton Dragons in place of those archers in motorcycle, and KFC is going to be running a 3 Musketeers Royal Hogs deck, which is pretty much just Fireball Bait with those Skeleton Dragons. So starting off, he does split those 3 Musketeers in the back. Unfortunately, I was going to plan on get a king activation with the Royal Ghost, but I had to use it to get those 3 musketeers in the same lane. So the mortar will obviously splash those out, and I just go ahead and use a log as well as some skeletons and an ice spirit to finish off those musketeers. Looks like I don't use an ice spirit, but yeah, as you can see, pretty decent start. But KFC obviously is a god, and I suck at this game, so yeah, he's just going to continue to get chip damage with those hogs over and over and over. So after this first push, obviously both of us are just saving up elixir. I go in with a knight in the back, and KFC is going to go in with an ice golem opposite lane. He knows that he is going to need to split lane pressure in order to play this properly, and I go in with a mortar here. He's going to go ahead and go in with a hunter and then those skeleton dragons. You can see how much damage they're doing. One of the dragons takes out the mortar, the other one takes out my knight, and he actually forces out a rocket on my end in order to deal with that push right there. I should have just rocketed earlier, and now he is free to play down those 3 musketeers. So heading towards double elixir time, he does play down those 3 musketeers. I screw up the NATO, so I mean, now I don't have a way to deal with his royal hogs very effectively. So, I mean, there's nothing much I can do except for going in with that defensive mortar. He obviously goes in with those 3 musketeers. I go in with the baby dragons, and you can see that those dragons are, I mean, the splash radius is actually rather small. It doesn't hit all 4 of those royal hogs right there. And now you can see one of the dragons goes to the left to support the mortar, and then one of them goes towards the right. Here I'll go ahead and NATO them in, but he does manage to stop those musketeers before they're actually able to take out my push. So now he has everything coming in. I have to use a rocket on that stuff. Then I go skeletons and then an ice spirit, finish off those 3 musketeers. So as you can see, those skeleton dragons will get a little bit of utility, especially when they split up. So 10 seconds left. He goes in with a hunter. I go in with a mortar. And yeah, he goes in with those skeleton dragons again. As you can see, they're already in range of the mortar, so there's no way for me to actually react to those skeleton dragons, and they're just going to instantly take out my mortar. And there, I kind of waste the NATO, unfortunately, so he plays his 3 musketeers all in one lane. I'll go in with a mortar, which does actually lock onto the 3 musketeers, so combining that with a log will finish those off no problem. So really close match. And obviously, I'm going to try and cycle back and just keep getting chip damage on the tower. So here he goes in with skeleton dragons. I decide that I pretty much have to start making a move. So I go in with that rocket onto the tower. And I follow up with skeleton dragons. In hindsight, I should have just NATO'd to king. I think that would have been a little bit more useful for me. But here, I do just try and cycle my small spells to try and DPS down those 3 musketeers. Again, that ends up being a mistake. But what can I do? So I'll go in with a knight right there. And he's obviously trying to cycle to his royal hogs. I go in with those baby dragons. One gets instantly demolished. The other one, again, gets instantly demolished. And here he just has a massive push. I try and rocket it out, but I do miss one of the hogs, which is disastrous. I finally get my king activation, but not until my tower is down within spell range for him. So here I'm just scrambling to not take any amount of damage at all. I try and sneak in a mortar hit here with a NATO right there. It does succeed, actually, bringing his tower down to rocket range. Unfortunately, however, this push on his end is just a little bit too much for me. I NATO everything back right there. I try and send in the rocket as soon as I can, but unfortunately, his stuff gets to the tower just before mine, and unfortunately, I do lose that matchup. So as you can see, those skeleton dragons were actually very, very useful at taking out that mortar cycle deck, and on my end, those skeleton dragons actually didn't have that large of a splash radius, so it missed a lot of those royal hogs and didn't actually allow me Alrighty, so this next match here, obviously against full frontage this time, and I'm gonna fiddle with the volume button on the side because I like to do that. But anyways, both of us are actually going to be running different variations of Lava Hound. I'm gonna be running Lava Loon. As you can see, I run the Barbarians as well as the Skeleton Dragons to provide a little bit of spell bait, and he's gonna be running a more traditional Lava Hound control deck. So here he goes in with those Skeleton Dragons, and you can see how effectively those Skeleton Dragons actually take out those Barbarians. barbarians. Unfortunately for him though, my skeleton dragons take his out, and then they just kind of do rampage on his tower. I have the arrows as well as the zap, which is going to be disastrous because he's actually running guards, which get completely destroyed by arrows. So pretty good start right there. The skeleton dragons were able to do a ton of damage onto those towers, and here he's got a obviously a goblin cage right there. I zap it and then I cycle an inferno dragon. That inferno dragon is going to take out his goblin brawler and then go on to take out his lava hound. I really had to protect that inferno dragon because that really is my only main air defender for tanks, at least. So I obviously just go in with my lava hound. His inferno dragon will take mine out, but the important thing is I will finish his off. And as you can see, he uses a poison spell, freeing me up to actually use those skeleton dragons right there on defense. He uses his skeleton dragons. I almost arrows, but then I realized I should probably save it for the guards or something. And here I do make a bit of a mistake. The miner will walk towards his miner, and then the skeleton dragon will get some splash damage on there. But we do take that out, and I go in with a balloon because his inferno dragon is not in cycle yet, and those baby dragons are also out of cycle. So he has to cycle a goblin cage, and he also gets an inferno dragon down, but just in time I go in with a zap, and the balloon does manage to connect onto the tower. So now his inferno dragon is out of cycle, and I go in with those baby dragons right there to take out his inferno dragon. I keep calling them baby dragons, they're skeleton dragons. And then again, full frontage will go in with a lava hound. But as you can see, he does use his baby dragons on defense. He kind of has to, or else mine will take his tower out. But now I can just go in with that lava hound, go in with arrows right there to finish off the guards, and there's nothing stopping those the inferno dragon from taking out that lava hound. Barbarians on the back will finish that off. Zap will go ahead and finish off the lava pups, and then I can just go ahead, 20 seconds left, keep up the pressure. I'm gonna go in actually, I believe, with a balloon in the opposite lane, and then send in a miner in order to get one final hit onto the tower. So 10 seconds left, not much that he can do. And as you can see, the skeleton dragons as well as those barbarians synergize very well, because when he used the poison spell on one of them, he obviously didn't have an answer for the other, and I was just able to capitalize on that to go ahead and get as much value with those skeleton dragons as I could. So there we go, a first look at the skeleton dragon card that should be dropping into the game on Friday, June the 5th. Of course, let me know your thoughts on the skeleton dragon in the comment section below. Supercell really wants feedback on this one. They're trying this system out to make sure that the community is a bit more prepared for these card releases. I'll also do a community post after this video goes live, so be sure to head over there, and also let me know if there's anything that you would change with the card. Personally, it's a new dragon card, so I'm not complaining, but you can in the comment section below. But unfortunately, guys, that's all I've got time for in today's episode. Huge thanks to all of my channel members. You guys are the absolute G's. If you enjoyed, please leave a like down below, as well as a subscription to my channel. And as always, this is Legendaray, and I'm signing off. See you guys next time.